It's Ann Arbor's 1071. Good morning. I'm Scott Vertical, and I have a very special guest with me this morning. This man is one of our most prolific and accomplished musicians. He's a graduate of Juilliard School. He was the band leader and musical director of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. His work on the Pixar movie Soul earned him a Golden Globe, a BAFTA, an NAACP Image Award, a Critics' Choice Award, an Academy Award for Best Original Score. His album, We Are, was released in 2021 to overwhelming critical acclaim. He was nominated for 11 Grammys across 7 different categories, a first in Grammy history. He went on to win 5 of those Grammys, including Album of the Year. Who could I possibly be talking about but Jon Batiste? Good morning, Jon. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello, how you doing?
Better now that there's some music in the air. You have all of these accomplishments that I just listed, and I'm sure you get tired of hearing about them all the time. But how do you follow that up? What makes you go in the studio and record world music radio and put together this new album that you've got out?
Well, I just do it for the supporters out there, the people who are commuting, listening to my music, the people who are with their families, all of the incredible artists out there who are really inspired by the work that I create. There's so many different communities that I connect with. And I really am so grateful to be able to give them music and art and creativity and films, all these things that enrich their lives.
You say it sounds like you almost have this need to do that, and that leads to one of my questions. You grew up in this musical family that goes back decades. Was it always just a given that you'd be going into music? Did you always have this need to create music, or did you just want to be an accountant or a lion tamer or something
Oh
at
no,
one point?
and there wasn't always a real direction of music being my profession. It was more just a part of the culture we grew up in.
Right.
We didn't have a separation between the idea of music as a social activity and music as a profession. Sure, we did play together, but it was more just a part of our life in New Orleans. And then I left New Orleans when I was 17 to go to Juilliard. And when I was at Juilliard, as you said in the intro, that was also the turning point for me when I started to really look at music as a profession and not just as
Okay.
something that was part of my life.
Right. So it was always going to be part of your life, but it didn't occur to you till later about, I could actually make some cash doing this.
Yeah,
Uh,
right.
and sometimes you use that cash to give back to the community through the single "We Are." You supported the Equal Justice Initiative. Can you explain a little bit about what that is and why that was important to you?
Well, the album We Are and the song We Are is something that chronicles a lot of what was going on around the globe at that time, and particularly if you think about America and all of the racial and political strife that was happening in 2020 into 2021 over those summers of COVID-19 and the elections, and you saw how all these things were happening, and music is really a vehicle that you can use to do good in the world and to help to really bring redemption. And I thought that it was a beautiful time for us to use the platform of my music as I've always wanted to use it to bring people together. The justice system and post George Floyd's
Hmm.
murder really was in a point where the great causes needed to be supported and still do. And I
Right.
thought it was something that tied into the theme of the music that we were creating at that time as well.
It's always good to be able to give back to your community like you've done. And it seems like the musical community has responded in kind because you have a lot of guest stars on this new album, World Music Radio, and it's an eclectic range to say the least. You've got Lil Wayne, Lana Del Rey, Kenny G, and so many more. How did you assemble this amazing roster of talent to come with you on this journey?
A lot of those collaborations are just friends of mine and people who I wanted
Huh.
to collaborate with for a while. It just happens to be that it lines up when things line up, and it was the right project. And I thought that the message of this project is really to break free from genre and be
Hmm.
limitless and create music that doesn't get boxed in by any sort of arbitrary or imaginary categorizations. So
Sure.
it made sense to put a lot of these collaborations on the same project. And ultimately, I love collaboration. It's not just collaborations. You get 21 tracks on this album in an hour.
Mhm.
So it's a really jam-packed musical concept album. And you listen to it from the top to the bottom, and it's an experience. And ultimately, I wanted to have these different moments that shifted gears. And I thought that, a lot of times shifting gears in a movie, you'd have a character who would come out, or you'd have a new character who's introduced. And that's how
Mhm.
the narrative unfolds or continues to unfold.
Yeah, you have characters in between the songs occasionally. It's a DJ character, right? And it's called world music radio, and it is like flipping through world music, and it jumps from genre to genre. And did you? I think I know the answer to this already, but I assume you designed this to be listened to track by track, us in one sitting. This is not a shuffle album, right?
No, I don't think any album should be shuffleable.
Right, right,
It's in the title. It's an album. It's
right.
something that you're listening to. If you were reading a great novel, you wouldn't skip chapters, or if you're watching
Sure.
a film, you wouldn't skip scenes. We may skip around once you're familiar with everything that is there and you've
Right.
created a relationship to that. But I think it's all the better for that.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I hadn't thought of it that way. You're right. You don't skip parts of a movie and you don't skip parts of a novel. That's an excellent way to put it. I hadn't thought of it that way. Now, most recently, you were awarded with a sports Emmy. Did you ever see that coming?
No, I didn't see that one coming, but you know what? It's great. I love sports. I played basketball when I was in high school, and
Yeah.
I still love the idea of bringing worlds together, even if it's not music.
Mhm.
Sports and music coming together. Hey, why not?
Right. Right. Well, I know that a lot of our listeners, I'm sure, have heard it. It was in the 2022 NCAA March Madness piece because we're Ann Arbor, U of M is here, so
Oh
I'm sure
yeah,
many
I'm
of our
aware.
listeners heard that for sure. Well, before we let you go, I just want to extend an open invitation to you. Next time you're swinging through Ann Arbor, we have a studio right here with has recording equipment on. I'm going to put you on the spot and say next time you're coming through Ann Arbor, if you're coming just through to get a Zingerman's or something, stop by, and we'd love to have you here, Jon Batiste. Thanks for joining us today.
I cannot wait to come through and be there with you in person. I love Ann Arbor, and I'm so grateful to speak with you today.
Oh, I appreciate it as well. We're going to play your latest single. This is "Calling Your Name" from the LP World Music Radio. Jon Batiste, thanks again for making time with us this morning on Ann Arbor's 107.1.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Ooh, thank you.
Wake up to your favorite music and Scott Vertical on Ann Arbor's 107.1.